Hi, I'm Chris with Electron Hybrid Solutions. We are hybrid and electric vehicle specialists. And today I'm going to show you how to rebuild your battery with brand new cells and hardware. So first, let's talk about the tools you're going to need. You really don't need much. They're all basic hand tools. You'll need a ratchet, an 8, 10, and 12 millimeter. And if you've gotten a pick and extension, that'll help out a lot too. When we're tightening everything, we're going to need a torque wrench. We want to make sure that we don't over or under torque these batteries and damage them. That way we can get the most life out of them as possible. So I'm going to be using my power tools to make this a lot faster. Here I have a battery that is untouched. It just came out of a vehicle, nothing has been done to it, so it's going to be exactly like your battery, and I'm going to show you step by step every single nut and bolt, what to do and how to do it right. So let's get started by taking this apart. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take off this top cover, and there's several bolts that hold it in. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this rubber burr guard right here. Now when we start taking everything off, to make it even easier for you, we're going to set things to the side and we're going to set them in order that you take them off at. So your first parts that came off go right here, second, third, fourth. That way when we're reinstalling, you work backwards, nothing is forgotten and nothing is installed in the wrong order. So let's get going with that. Okay, so first, removing the burr guard. I'm going to set it to the side on the table. Then we're going to do the 7 bolts. Remove the cover. I just put the bolts right inside. Next thing, something fun to do, rip off these vent tubes. And with the brand new cells, they are cells that do not need venting, so this is no longer going to be needed. You can just toss this guy in the trash. Next, we're going to take off this temperature sensor right here. Just lift up on these 2 little white clips. They'll come off real easily. This here is held in with a clip. This is when the pick will come in handy. Bend this tab up, push the clip in from the middle, and it'll pop right out. Pull it over to the side and you can just leave it right there. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off these plastic covers and undo all of the bus bars and nuts. Even though the safety plug is out and there's nearly zero risk of electrocution, we're still going to be extra safe by just taking off this one side first and then going to that side. So these plastic covers come off. You've got little tabs to pry up on. You can rip them off and it'll be just fine. They'll go back on without being damaged. Just pry them off, put them to the side. Now we have all of these nuts here that are 8 millimeter. So we're going to switch our tool to the 8 and take all of these guys off. Okay, now that we have these off, we're going to pull it to the side. Now it's safe to start on the other side. All of these off to the side. We'll no longer be using these in the rebuild kit. So those can be thrown away if you need. Same thing with this. In your kit, you're going to have brand new bus bars and wiring harness, so these won't be needed anymore either. So now we need to remove this, but this is connected in here. So I'm going to show you how to disconnect this. You're going to take these little white plastic covers off. They just lift right off of it. These we're still going to use, so do not discard them, put them to the side. And then we've got two 8mm nuts in here and a 10mm down there. So we're going to take these nuts off of the system main relays. The system main relays are these two little boxes. You've got orange wire here and orange wire here running straight in. You just unscrew them and you pull them out. Okay, two nuts off to the side. Now there's a 10mm bolt buried way down here. You see this little black strap right here, and it's got a bolt holding it down to the case. We're going to remove that. And then we also have this orange wiring harness right here that plugs into the computer. We're going to use our pick, push in a little tab and pull it out. I'm going to pull it out myself, and once I have it out, I will show you what you're supposed to do. It's much easier to understand when I can show it to you in my hands versus buried down in there. So now I'm going to remove the harness. I'm going to unplug it from the computer, and I'm also going to use my pliers, and I'm going to cut this zip tie off. The zip tie is right here. It's on this orange, the biggest orange cable, and it holds it down there. It's very difficult to take it off the proper way, but this is not going to be reused, so we're going to cut it off, and it doesn't matter if it gets damaged. So let's do that. Got that. And then I'm going to use this pick to get the harness out. This can be discarded. There we go. Now it's out. So let's talk about how I got this out of the computer. Right here, there's a little tab that you push down. That allows it to release from the computer. So the best way to do it is get two fingers on the harness or these wires, push in this tab, and once that tab is pushed all the way in, it should pop right out. And that's that. So we're going to save this part of the harness right here. And your rebuild kit is going to come with a brand new harness, so this is no longer needed. So now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take off two 10mm nuts that are in this corner and this corner. So you can see them right there, and you've got the same thing on the opposite side. And this is where the extension comes in handy. So now that we've got both of those off, let's flip the battery over, and we've got a bunch of little nuts on the bottom. They're all 8mm. They run along right here. Just simply pull them all out. So now this is completely unbolted. We can take this off of the battery modules on the bottom, but there's going to be 3 temperature sensors still connected to the battery. So don't just rip it off, lift it up, and we're going to disconnect them. You're going to use your clip. It's really easy. You just pry it off to the side, and they just pop right out. So now I've got all 3 of them undone. I'm going to take it off, and now we've got it free. This is the battery block with all of your failed modules. This is an air dam that goes on the bottom. Put that off to the side. Now we're going to unbolt this. The easiest way to do this is the side that has this little tab. You want it facing up. And we're going to undo these 4 12mm bolts. Save all of these. We will be reusing these along with these compression blocks. Now this guy, we can tip them over. Now these are all done. We're not going to use them anymore, so we'll take them to the side and discard them. So now we are completely done with the disassembly. Now we're going to start installing the brand new cells. So let's go over everything that you need for this, and I'm going to show you step by step how to put this all back together. So here's everything that you should have received in your rebuild kit. 14 brand new modules, all numbered 1 through 14, and then you're going to have 7 additional things with it. You're going to have a heavy gauge high voltage wire, bag of brand new bolts, new nickel plated bus bars, bus bar covers, brand new wiring harness, insulation, and electrical tape. That's everything we need to put this together. So now let's start and do it right now. So the first step in putting everything back together is we need to insulate these 4 rods. So we're going to start by expanding this, push it together, it gets nice and big. Push it over, just go all the way down. Okay, now this last one is tricky. You see we've got this tab right here, that's going to cause a problem. So what you do is you just twist it around so it wraps up against it, put it over it like normal, all the way down, and then right where it is we need to cut a little hole for it to pop out. So I've got the pliers, I lift it up a little bit, I snip it from this side, then I go and I snip it from this side, and then you twist it and you pull that tab right out. So it's just like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put all of the modules in here, but it's very important how you put them in. You don't want to put them in the wrong way. So number 1, it's going to be all the way in this corner here. And we're going to go all the way to 14. Now when I'm putting them in, notice they're nice and straight. We don't want anything off to the side like that, and these are all interlocking. So they have tabs they should fall into and keep them from sliding out. So make sure they're all in there nice and straight. It's in. Now we're going to install this. These are referred to as the compression blocks. Keeps everything together. And just tighten them down. Now it's looking like a hybrid battery again. So let's put it back into the case and build this back up. So now that we've got it upside down, we're going to put the case back onto here. But notice there's these 3 black rings around the modules. Those are where we're going to connect the temperature sensors. And notice that there's an opening. That's where they're going to connect, in between the opening. We also have these air dams. And notice that one of them, the 2 holes are close together, and one they're far apart. Right now we're going to need the one that's farther apart. So we're going to bring this over. We're going to put this on in just a minute, but it's going to go right over here. But this temperature sensor, we're going to clip it so it holds it together. Just like that. Okay, so now all of these are connected. Now notice we've got these two pieces of foam here and a space in the middle. That is going to go right into there. So I'm going to clip it in. Just like that. He's going to go, and those two circle pieces are going to clip right onto these rods, fit perfect, and then we're going to fold this right over and bolt it down. These studs right here should go right through these holes, fit in there nice. So now we're going to install these 8mm bolts into all of these nuts. You have to move the case around on some of them to get them started, but once you get a few, the rest of them will all line up. So I do some on the outside and then some in the middle. And once you get the outsides in the middle lined up, all the others will automatically line up. Good. All right, so we've got those back in. Now we're ready to flip it back on over. Now we're done with everything on the bottom. Now we're going to put those two 10mm nuts back on. Now the battery is totally secured onto the case. Okay, so now we're going to put the upper air dam on. I'm going to clip it in right here. And this temperature sensor is going to clip right into the middle of the air dam. And these guys are going to reconnect just right where they were originally. And the actual temperature sensor was on the end is going to go right in here. And that part's done. So next we're going to do the wiring harness and the bus bar. So get the wiring harness, you're going to plug it into the computer. There we go. And notice it splits into two. The blue is going to go on the side with the numbers, and the red is going to go on this side. And we're going to need to put the bus bars on along with the bus bar nuts. So let's do that right now. We're going to start with number 12 and 13. We're going to put one bolt right here and just barely get it started, maybe 3 turns. Then we're going to get another bolt and we're going to take the second wire, not the first one, the second one, put it through here, go and screw it on, and just get it finger tight. We're going to go later with the torque wrench and tighten it up properly. And you're going to repeat that process the whole way along, except you're not going to do the first one and you're not going to do the last one. So next we're going to install this. It's going to connect to this very last module along with this voltage acquisition wire, and it's going to feed right back into there. So let's wrap this with a little bit of electrical tape first. Alright, so now we're done with this. Notice I did not tape this top part where it's going to connect. We don't want that to interfere. So I'm going to get a bolt. We're going to run the bolt through this first, then to this heavy gauge wire, and then that's going to screw right into there. Now, after that, we're going to want to run this through the current sensor, which is this little white piece right here. You're just going to shove it right through the hole in the middle. And you're going to put it on the system main relay. I have it partially on. Push it forward a little more and down. Now this right here, remember this is the one that bolts onto the stud at the bottom. So this hole, you're going to put it through the stud and you're going to put the 10mm nut right over it. So I'll do that right now. Next, we have this heavy gauge wire that is going to go from here to this other system main relay. So I will connect this first and then I'll show you how it goes over there. So now we're going to get this heavy gauge wire. We're going to connect it to this first module to the second system main relay. So let's first put the bolt through this first, then onto the heavy gauge wire, and then from there we're going to screw it into module number 1. So now the next step, 2 8mm bolts on these system main relays, the little black boxes with the copper piece on top. I'm just going to tighten those guys down. And that's all done. So now we're going to work on the other side. We're pretty much going to do the same thing, connect this with all of the bus bars, but this is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to take off this cover. Just like we did with the other piece, we're going to wrap it up with electrical tape. Make sure not to cover the actually going to Be very generous with on there. Okay, so now that we got these taped up, you're going to notice one is slightly longer than the other. Take the longer one, twist it upside down 180 degrees, and then you're going to get the second blue wire on the harness, and you're going to put a bolt through both of those and secure it to module number 4. So let me get these together. There we go. Now we're going to do the other one. We're going to twist it 180 degrees. We're not going to add a wire to this one, so it's just going to be a nut that we're going to screw straight into module number 3. There we go. And now we're going to connect the rest of them with bus bars, except number 7 and 8, we are not going to connect that one until the very end. That's that guy right there. We're not connecting it just to add a little bit of safety. That's going to keep the battery at a low voltage. So same story as the other side. I'm going to grab all of these bolts. We're going to connect them one by one all of the way across, and then each one of them is going to need to be connected with the wiring harness, and you're just going to do it in order. So this one that's labeled V2, it's going to go right in there. Okay, so now all of the bus bar nuts and bolts are in on both sides. I'm just going to go around and snug them all up, and then we're going to go over them with the torque wrench. This drill is set to a very low setting so that I don't damage anything. Okay, so now I've got my torque wrench. It's set to 60 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds. I'm going to go around, tighten everything until I feel the wrench click. And just do that to every single one of them. Okay, so now that these are all tightened up, we're going to start putting the caps on all of the covers except for the middle. Now we're going to install the bus bar covers. You should have 11 medium size. Then we're going to have 2 small and then 2 large, but one of them is not going to have this lip. So you'll notice they have these 2 clips here. You're going to shove them into the hole and in the holes, and they should just snap right in. Like that. And here, this one is the one with the lip. It's going to go right here, and you just want to make sure that these wires are up and they clear it. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing to this side. You've got these 2 small ones. We'll just get those out of the way. Those go on the end. I will flip this around so you can see. Now over here, instead of them clipping in at the bottom like on the other side, these are going to clip in right at the top. And now all of these guys. Okay, so we're all done. We've got one left over, so we're going to go back over here. We're going to do this very last bus bar and then the cover. Again, torque it to 60 inch-pounds. And that wraps up everything on the sides. So now everything is all put together. Let's put the cover on along with those 7 10mm bolts, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. And the very last thing, the burr guard. Now this guy has got 2 little lumps and then a flat side. The flat side goes over here, and you just push it on. And it is all done. Go ahead, reinstall this in your vehicle, and you should have a good battery for a very long time. Thank you very much for choosing Electron Hybrid Solutions. And if you have any questions, give us a call. We'll help you out with any part of this process. We've got technicians available to help you. Once again, thank you very much.